On my 18th birthday, my parents handed me a $200,000 bill. Instead of fighting, I got organized. The next day, I didn't yell or plead. I locked myself in my room and spent hours on my laptop. That evening, I called a family meeting. I had them sit in the exact same spots. Only this time, I was the one sliding a folder across the table. I reviewed your invoice, I said, my voice steady, and I noticed you omitted several key figures, so I've prepared a counter invoice. They opened it, looking confused. Then their faces went from smug to baffled to furious. I'd billed them. For babysitting services for younger sibling, I calculated 10 hours a week for 8 years at a modest $15 an hour. Total, $62,400. Then there was lawn care and home maintenance. For all the mowing, painting, and appliance repairs they never hired a professional for. I valued that at $15,000. But the next part was the checkmate. Under financial credits and damages, I listed the full academic scholarships I'd earned for college, which meant they didn't have to pay a dime. That was a $50,000 credit that I generously subtracted from my labor fees. And then, the final line item, estimated cost of therapy for emotional manipulation and neglect. I put down a conservative $25,000. After crunching all the numbers, it turned out they owed me $7,400. I let that sink in for a moment before delivering the final blow. Of course, this is all ridiculous, I said calmly, because parents have a legal and moral obligation to provide for their children. You don't get to retroactively charge someone for a choice you made. So this invoice is just as meaningless as yours. My father went beet red, sputtering about disrespect. My mother just stared, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. For the first time in my life, they were speechless. They had built their entire world on leverage and transactions, and I had just proven their emotional currency was completely worthless. I stood up, went to my room, packed my bags, and walked out of that house. The silence from my phone that night was the most satisfying sound I've ever heard. Parenthood is a responsibility, not a business deal. They forgot that. I won't. Update. So a lot of you are probably wondering what happened next. That night, I left with nothing but a backpack and my grandfather's trust fund, which I gained full control of when I turned 18. The first thing I did was invest in myself, just like my grandpa wanted. I used a portion of the money to get my own apartment and pay for my college expenses, ensuring I'd graduate with zero debt. Instead of getting a traditional job, I used the rest of the seed money to start my own business, a small tech company that develops financial literacy apps for young people, ironically enough. I wanted to teach Americans the lessons I learned the hard way, how to be independent and smart with money without the emotional manipulation. It took a few years of grinding, but that company is now thriving. I sold it last year for a sum that makes my parents' $200,000 bill look like pocket change. I live a life they can only see on social media, built on my own terms. As for them, I heard through the grapevine they tried to sue me for a portion of my company's sale. The case was thrown out of court. Turns out their return on investment is officially zero.